Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to Feldy Farming Simulator map made by Farmer Yip for Farm Sim 11. I've done a little bit of work off cam. I've completed doing some cultivation over in field, let's see, was at 6 and 7. I brought the cultivator back over here, and I think I have 9 and 10 and 12 that will need cultivation. I'm gonna get this fella going right here in this field. I've already prepped the other end so that he can be doing something while I go and tend to the bale. I think you should be able to handle this, although I have a feeling based on past history we're gonna have a few streaks to get rid of, and we see a limitation in this map, or limitation by design, in the orientation of it. I mean, obviously the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, and right now we're heading due west. And of course our sun at 5:37 in the afternoon, evening, is kind of on its way down, and we already see in here that it's dark. So, not much we can do about that. Just one of the things we need to deal with. Now, I'm kind of curious to see if he can make this turn. Oh boy. You know what? We're gonna change course on that, and I am gonna do an extra strip in here just to help the poor fella out. And we'll give him just a little bit more wiggle room in here to work. Yeah, I don't know what you guys do when you set up an area that you want to turn the hired person loose on, but occasionally I think we got to do stuff like this in order to make sure the dude does what. Hey, now, what did it do that for? I tell you, yeah, this field detection, I put it back in for a very particular purpose, but I'm kind of seeing I need to check it before I do anything in here to make sure it isn't going to do something at exactly the wrong period of time. So right now field detection is on, so meaning it should detect when we're on our field so we don't create other parts of the field. So let me just get this lined up with our helpful compass. I'm going to totally redo the course here. And okay, field detection is on. Let's turn him loose. Okay, I'm a little... That should be okay. He should go straight as an arrow, hopefully, and continue on with what he's doing. Now, the last time that we were in here, I was in the process of windrowing this and putting it in strips, and I did a bunch of it off cam, and you know, I'm kind of learning that we're not going to get that many bales out of here off of grass. I'm also learning that it fortunately picks up, this particular baler picks up the grass that isn't fully tedded, and it appears to be putting it into a bale. Either that or it's just making it disappear. But I'm not getting near as many bales as I had hoped. So this isn't really going to be a real big money maker. Indeed, might end up just being a money pit, where the juice isn't quite worth the squeeze, and the time effort to do this may not be worth it. But we laid the grass down, so we'll take care of it here. Get just this little bit. I gotta, oops. My time to pick it up. Go figure. It didn't pick up that little bit either. You know, I don't know if any of you have seen this before. Those of you that play some of these older versions, but another frustration I ran into using the windrower is it took a lot of my tethered grass and it converted it back into green grass as if it hadn't been tethered. So at first I was kind of wondering, you know, what impact that may have, and it turns out it really wasn't that big of a deal. I'm going, isn't picking up this one here because, like I said earlier, it does seem to be picking it up, although this little spot right here, yeah, that may be an exception. I'm not sure what's going on with him. But as you can see, I don't really have very many bales in here, so we'll have a few to pick up, but not quite the crop that I was hoping for. We do have a bit more that I got started making kind of over in the cattle pasture, so we'll continue on that. And you know, there is a big grass area. If we look clear over on the, oops, I gotta raise that up. Also gotta drive. There, pick that up. Clear over kind of on the far eastern side of the map, you see kind of an area called grass over in there. So I think at some point we may end up over there and try to do a bunch of baling there as well. That's something I never tried when I initially did this map. Hey, did we have everything out of here? I almost think we do. And you know, that's some interesting coloration over there, the distance diffuse. I'm kind of curious to see if, no, it isn't regrowing just yet, but I'm confident that it will. And one of the reasons I'm confident is I've already seen the red clover in the process of regrowing one of the fields where we cut it, which I think was clear over on the west side, field number 5, field number 8. They're already regrowing, which is pretty cool. So now that we have that done, I have half a notion to just go up and collect whatever bales happen to be there, and we'll get that part taken care of and out of the way. It's kind of satisfying. So we'll drop our baler here. Oh, if only it was so easy to pick up and drop off equipment. Although, actually, you know what? I almost think I saw that in real life one time, where someone backed up and could unhook their implement that they had on, and I almost think they backed up to something and were able to pick it up pretty quick. Maybe some of you out there are more aware of that than I would be. Now, some of these bales may have been hiding down here in some of these trees as we went around with the opening round. Let's see if I can... This thing is a beast. But there just isn't that many up here. And you know, I'm convinced some of it has to do with how windrows and grass on the ground behaved back here in Farm Sim 11. I really think some of it is that. You know, I almost wonder if we get more bales if instead of windrowing anything, I just drove the baler around the field until I picked everything up. I kind of think that that'd probably give me way more bales, well, way more, relatively speaking, than what I'm going to get here. You know, there's straw seems to output just a boatload of it, and we just aren't getting that much in the way of grass. And maybe that's realistic given the size of these bales, whatever they are. Maybe it is. I really couldn't tell you. But I have half a notion to kind of go in and fiddle with the map settings so that when a bale or that when grass is put down, that there's a whole lot more of it. Um, but anyway, for the moment, we will suppress our greed. I think I got everything up there. Just not that many bales to speak of, so a little bit of disappointing yield on Feldy here for the grass. And we're gonna leave this parked, and you know what? Let me try something real quick. And it could be that Farmer Yip set this up to behave this way deliberately. Let me just go see if I can bale grass straight. Because I know I was able to pick it up there. See if I raise or lower. There we go. Look at that. Huh. Well, that's really interesting. It's letting me pick it up directly. And I have half a notion that when I get this field done over here, that's how I'm going to treat it, is to go pick it up. Because it's already laying about in these nice windrows, and when I ted it, I know it's going to upset that. So, maybe we'll see. But first, let me go back to my tractor pulling the cultivator. Looks like, even though it's dark in here, he's doing a fair job, so we'll leave him to his devices. Let me try to, here we go. Alright, so this here, we do have the ability to do autopilot, but the thing of it is that, we're going to have the same problem here that we had kind of up in that other field. Let me get it going. Oh my word, we would never go this fast in real life. We will do it this way to kind of get around the corners. I really like this little windrower. It brings back kind of a ton of memories of being on the farm where we had some auger windrowers sort of like this. And they had about this look and feel, although in the case of the ones that I operated, they were John Deere's. I think they were 2280. We had a 3430 a year or two later, and then I think ultimately they got 3830s, and yeah, I don't work up there anymore, and they've since have gone to something even more modern. I don't remember which one, but this definitely has a look and feel of what I remembered on the farm. And there was times when we cut and windrowed the pasture for hay, certain areas of the pasture. And then I think later, after we cut the hay on it, we would let the cows go out on it kind of in the fall or whatever. Oh, I hear the hogs. Except we don't have any hogs is the only problem. But I don't know, I know in the base game you can get a mower, of course, but I don't know that windrower mods like this, or when I say windrower, I mean self-propelled windrower, I don't know if they were all that common. I don't remember seeing them back, when I was playing more Farm Sim 11 back in the day. This one here, after a little TLC, I had to do a bunch of work on this. I think I mentioned it has autopilot. This one here had some of the exact same problems that some of the Combine autopilot mods had, meaning it was popping errors, calls to acts. It couldn't find the pieces that it needed to operate autopilot, and it just was popping errors, in the log. So managed to get all of them fixed. I came to find out that it really has a modified script in here, if you will, for the autopilot. The main autopilot script was set up for combines, and this is not a combine, this is a mower. So a lot of things in there had to be adjusted, and someone did that. I almost think maybe it was original mod or Gotch Tom or whoever his name was. So, but I was able to add other things in there, and I think at some point I'd like to give it a try. You know, we do have that other windrower, but kind of like I mentioned a little bit ago, I think you can end up getting more bales in this version of Farming Sim if you use a smaller cutting distance like this one has. I mean, this is a much smaller cut than the mower or the windrower that we have in game, the Yip one. And this is no denigration of the Yip one at all. I mean, it's just, I'm kind of curious to see how many more bales we might get using this. Because, you know, I mean, look at the, well, when we go over the bare road right here, it's going to put almost the same amount of windrow down as it does. Well, now it's going to make a liar out of me. I didn't do it. Oh, I guess there wasn't really any. It needs that grass kind of in the middle. Here will be an example. There's a little bit of grass on there, and it's going to put down a windrow. Well, look at that. It's almost as big and as bushy as the other windrows. So, you know, you just kind of get a picture. I think it was later versions of Farming Sim where it was a better match to what you had on the ground to cut with what kind of windrow came out. And of course, on later versions, you could fertilize it and some of that kind of thing, and that also made a difference as to how much material you had. But here in this version, I kind of think what you see is what you get, and if you were to consolidate these windrows, you wouldn't get near as many bales. So I'm kind of intrigued to bring the bather out here and try to do this without even tethering it. I don't know, maybe some of you would say that's cheating. You can go ahead and call me a cheater if you want. But I don't think I've cheated entirely on this. I've been trying to keep the cash part straight, and speaking of, that's something to note. Yep, we are still 25,000 in debt, and actually kind of without selling any bales right now, we are minus a revenue stream. We also took some time to harvest all of those sugar beets up there, or, well, I did, I guess, kind of off cam, as I think that's a little less interesting than some of the stuff that we're doing in here. Oh, we can hear cows now. I guess this is where the cows would be. Only we don't own any cows. And Farm Sim 11, I mean, another history note, I think was the first version where the Giants had animals as part of the base game. You could get milk cattle, and so I'm assuming that when you purchase a cow in here, that it would be a milk cow, and I think there's also beef that he has. We're going to have to get to those in some later missions maybe, but right now, just kind of by way of reminder, we are still working away on mission number 2, trying to make money to, and maybe some of you would do this totally differently from how I've been doing. I've been trying to earn enough money just to afford all the equipment that I'm going to need, so I can work on the missions. And right now I'm looking for I gotta make enough money to get some things that are very expensive, namely the forage harvester, so I can pick up feed stuff with it and take it over and give it to the sheep. And then the sheep, for their part, are going to produce wool, and I think I need to have 5,000 units of wool in storage, and that'll help me fulfill the mission, and it will open gate 3, which I believe is Kelp Island. And I know I've mentioned this several times. Anybody watching this is probably like, get to it, but it takes a bunch of time, so we'll just I want to keep an eye here on my little yellow dot. That's kind of handy to be able to see. Thank you, Decker, for that mod. To be able to see even the hired folks. I think it'll even show courseplay on there as well. And courseplay isn't something we've used in here very much. I gotta say, courseplay is pretty difficult to use when you have this many sharp corners, hard objects, and that's even with Farmer Yip removing many of the collisions on a lot of fences and gates and whatnot. I know back in this day, a lot of that was done. Oh, this thing just doesn't turn on a dime. I was saying in real life, sometimes we would turn like that and face the row again, but it slows it down kind of on the turns. So I don't know that I've done even enough turns here for autopilot to kick in the way it should. You know, I think I mentioned the ad in the last video that until I got clear to the middle of the field, autopilot kept looking outside of the field, the grass that it could see or detect in the script. But I didn't want it to go out there. I just wanted it to focus on the middle, and so that's kind of why I'm having to do all this manually. I don't mind doing a little bit of mowing, especially when it brings back some memories of when I was on the farm, so happy to do that. See, look at that. It made some of my other windrow disappear when it picked it up. I wonder if it would do that if this was tended grass, if it would windrow it. I'm going to find that that's easier to windrow using this thing than it would be to use the whirligig one up there. He would never do that in real life, though. It would just snarl up in the reel and make a horrific mess. That's something else I learned to practice with these things, is they were pretty good, usually. And the crop that we had when I was on the farm was grass seed that we windrowed this up for seed. But occasionally you would plug one of these things and it could be a real booger to get it unplugged. And usually you were better off stopping when the problem was little, of course, than trying to just, be in a rush and crunch it all through. What can I say? Yeah, I was a kid back then. Wasn't always as careful as I should be. Yeah, I think I'll just turn it this way. I think it backs up decent speed. It just, anytime you apply a turn, it, we are just going very fast in the field. For a sickle machine, we would never be speeding along this quick. I really don't think we can do it this fast. We are still cultivating over there, so hopefully that job's getting done right, even as we try to do ours right here. And as soon as I get done here, I tell you what, I'm going to go over and look at I'll probably take it to the far red clover field. That would be clear down field number 4, if you see on the PDA map there. I know there's a patch in there of red clover. And I'm going to see what kind of yield I can get with a smaller windrow and then coming in there with the baler, kind of like I did previously. There is something, we didn't have to ted the red clover when it was put on the ground, but we do have to ted, ostensibly, the grass, in order to make hay. So if we don't have to do it for the red clover, then maybe I can say that's my reasoning for not doing it on the grass. Although we did just do a field of it. Come on, back up quicker. Get down to the last little piece of the field. like I say, good thing we got no cows in here at the moment. Otherwise, they'd be going hungry by the time we finished our horsing around here. Alright, oops. Get her done. And yeah, gotta turn so many circles you lose track of where you're at. Let me go check out my... Alright. Yeah, there's a couple little streaks. For some reason it does it at whenever the ground is really, really steep. So we'll need to come in and fix those. But all things considered, it's not too bad, so we won't complain. Yeah, there's our other windrower. Let's see. Oh yeah, we got plenty of fuel. We'll get, does this thing have a beacon? It does have a beacon. Look at that. We're not on the main road, but we'll turn on our beacon. I don't know if the Giants equipment back in that day had beacons as a general rule or not. I just don't recall. And actually, number 2, does that have peas? Or is it potatoes? Yeah, I just don't remember. So we may find ourselves taking care of that as well. So hey. Okay. Yeah, this is peas. So we're going to turn this... Oh no, look at that. Boy, beware. When you back up, it removes your windrow. Well, that's not good. Let's turn that off for the moment. I'm going to get rid of my PDA. Oops. Get rid of that. How do I turn it on? Was it 0? There we go. Grass. Okay, I want to get keypad 5. Not red clover, peas. There we go. We want it on the left side. And, oh yeah, I gotta figure out the width. That about right. I'm not sure what this does or why it's important. And maybe it's a carryover from Farm Sim 09. I don't know how Farm Sim 09 set up its vehicles. Oh, I see, it's going this way. I don't know how Farm Sim 09 set up its vehicles. Maybe... Oh, it's putting grass in there. Silly. Oh, maybe because some plants were sitting out. Maybe it didn't have what's called a work area. These... Once you get to Farm Sim 11, each cutter, each cultivator, each plow, each whatever, has a work area that's defined. It's a parallelogram. You give it a starting point, you give it a width point that kind of goes across, and then you give it a height point. Oh, it didn't cut that. Then you give it a height point that shows kind of how deep it is. 3 points can define a plane, or in this case a parallelogram, usually in the form of a rectangle. Everything has it. Well, that's already defined kind of on the header of this thing, so I'm not sure why you would need, these points out here to indicate, where to go. Except maybe, like I say, if that's a remnant of 09, it could be that that's how it was defined back in 09. Maybe versus, rather than a work area, it was defined by those 2 points. Here's kind of where the cutter is, and between here and here is where it happened. Maybe, I don't know. I really couldn't say. Now, the downside of this particular cutter that is different from Farmer Yip. See, this is a mower base. The one Farmer Yip had, which is this one's, well, it's way back there now, is a combine base. So You know, kind of what I was fiddling around with a couple episodes ago was using the higher functionality to go back and forth. This one here is just going to go round and round and it'll get it done, but it would be nice to hire the mower to go back and forth. And, you know, I think it probably could eventually be done, but I'd have a bunch of scripting work to do, and I don't want to take the time to figure that out at this point. But okay, we have peas in here, and you know what? I kind of think we have a field of peas way up here on top. We'll worry about that one later. But here's the red clover kind of over here. So this is a fairly decent sized field of peas, so we'll get a few bales out of it. But I don't remember the peas, you know, producing that many bales, where the big bale maker really seems to be straw, which is unfortunate because these other bales really would be more valuable than those other types of bales. We're going to leave this for the moment. I think he's going to do just fine going around the field like he is. There's no other peas anywhere near here, so he isn't going to get confused. He probably would get a little confused, actually, if we were to cut into the red clover over here. He wouldn't have any trouble down here, but he probably would have trouble on the other end because it's fairly close to the other field. So, anyway, we'll turn him loose for the moment. Let's return back to our... Aha, he's done with his work, so now I need to do something with him, so I'll clean up the bits on the field. And I think for the moment, we'll call this episode where it is. And just want to say thank you for anybody that's watched this. Thanks for coming along on the journey here in Feldy. It's an awesome map. I'm really enjoying visiting it again here, and hope you are too. Take care, and we'll see you later on the next one.